All right, we got to talk a little bit about LSU. It's one of those days where you look at the message boards and things get very existential. So let's go to the Ponderosa, which is the message board on the Bengal Tiger On3's LSU site. Our friend Shay Dixon does a great job on that site. Let's listen to here are some of the titles of the threads on the message boards. Reality. My take on where we are as a program. In case anyone wants a thread to talk about things in an intelligent way. How slow we look defensively disturbed me the most. Everyone around the program hates Kelly. Like, that's where they're at after that loss to Alabama. Ari, they are down bad in Baton Rouge. Is it as bad as the fan base feels right now?
I'm actually surprised there weren't more Brian Kelly-centric threads there. It was a very dark place if you were Brian Kelly on Twitter on Saturday night. It was a really, really tough evening, and we know one unquestionable thing about the LSU program. It is that as they are trying to decide where they are on the pantheon of the sport, the number one program that it compares itself to is Alabama. Where are we in comparison to that team? Do we beat them? Think about how much welfare Brian Kelly earned by beating them in his first year there. It's one thing to lose this game and it be your third loss of the season. But for it to be an absolute blowout in which you were unprepared to stop Jalen Milroe from rushing for 185 yards on 9 carries, they just were not very competitive in the football game after Garrett Nussmeier threw that rough red zone interception. And the question has to be, where should this program be in year 3 of the Brian Kelly era? And trying really, really hard to forget how good they were offensively a year ago and how short they came up. So, their defense, with the amount of players that they have in their general area and how attractive LSU is as a transfer destination, just are not good enough. And losing at home 42-13 is just a really tough pill to swallow because of, doing that to the team that you compare yourself against is a pretty tough look.
Well, and we joked all week about, LSU didn't look like they'd never seen a mobile quarterback before when they played Texas A&M, but of course they'll get that figured out. No, they can't play a mobile quarterback. Well, Ari, what if DJ Lagway's back for Florida this week? That's a game LSU should win easily. But what if? Remember, LSU plays Florida, Vanderbilt, and Oklahoma. None of those is a guaranteed win, though you should beat Florida and Oklahoma. But this is not done. They got to crawl out of this hole and get up and win these next 3 games, or this season is going to look considerably worse than people thought. And I think what makes LSU fans so upset and so frustrated, loss number 1 is to a team that is currently 4-5. That's USC. But you can chalk that up to it's the first game of the season, it's fluky, whatever. Losses 2 and 3, which came in rapid succession, came to rivals who you recruit against routinely, who are led by first-year coaches. Mike Elko is not where he wants to be with that program at Texas A&M yet. Now, Kalen DeBoer inherited a really nice situation at Alabama, but seems to be picking up where Nick Saban left off in terms of recruiting. So it's not like they've taken a huge step back in terms of personnel. So if you're LSU and you are trying to deal with these programs that you're probably going to have to play year in, year out, your guys in year 3, and it feels like those guys in year 1 are ahead of you.
Yeah. And it's like they're in this weird middle ground between, the season's a dumpster fire and maybe could still make the SEC championship, right? I don't know what that. I was on an airplane this morning.
It's mathematically possible. Yes.
Unconscious, but I saw some of the text exchanges of what would need to happen for LSU to get in there. They're not dead in the SEC championship race. So, I understand this, but I actually came into the year more surprised that LSU fans weren't as upset or getting as impatient with Brian Kelly. And I think that's out the window now. I think people there are going to want results on a, much faster trajectory, meaning they better be much better next year. And they have a really good recruiting class that's set to come in. But, then the questions about, is he a culture fit? Do people like him? Is he recruiting well enough? Are they doing well enough in the portal? Do they have enough explosive playmaking on the defensive side of the ball? Like all these things that are realistic, reasonable questions that you can actually ask while you're not upset with the coach become far more pertinent and far more pressing than they do after losing to Alabama by 30 points on your home field at night.
I also think LSU fans are retroactively angrier about them wasting Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas Jr. by having the worst defense LSU has ever had last year. I think they didn't get as much heat for that as they could have, and now that's coming back. Like LSU fans who are mad about losing to Alabama, mad about losing to Texas, and I'm like, wait, now I'm mad about that too. So
yeah, sentiment, because the sentiment changes, and if you get upset with somebody, I mean, has your wife ever gotten angry at you about something and then got mad at you about something else? That's never happened to you?
All the time. Yeah. All the time.
I've been in that position before, so I get it. I don't know that I'm like out on Brian Kelly, but I think that this is going to be in a very important offseason for him, because if we go into next year and we're sitting at a
end of the season for him, like
you
better go to Gainesville and win.
Yeah.
Like Billy Napier just got saved. He got told he's coming back. They got shelled at Texas. DJ Lagway didn't play. If DJ Lagway's hamstring is feeling better and he plays, they will see a very different Florida team than Texas saw. If they aren't up for that game, they're going to have a problem. Like they need to get off the mat and get it figured out, because it gets much worse if you lose to Florida or you lose to Vandy or you lose to Oklahoma. And all of those, it's a non-zero proposition on all of those.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I think we're on Brian Kelly watch. LSU fans are out.
He's not getting fired.
No.
We can say that right now. He's not getting fired.
No, I hope that's not what I made you think. I just mean like we are on Brian Kelly watch in terms of what he does this year, what he does during the offseason, and of course how that fan base reacts to him.
Yeah, because I think the relationship becomes fairly ugly, because look, they would owe him like $60 million. He's not going anywhere. He might have to make staff changes, which he did last year with the defensive staff. You might see him make offensive staff changes after this year, but he ain't going anywhere. The question is, how is that relationship going to look at the end of the season? And how they finish the season will probably determine how that relationship looks. So if you are LSU, you better get up, go to Gainesville and win, beat Vanderbilt, beat Oklahoma. You lose any one of those, that fan base is going to be on tilt. You lose more than one of those, it's going to be a nasty offseason. Now, I will throw before, because I feel like we've been entirely too negative here. I will throw one thing. Our guy Shea Dixon, I mentioned earlier at the Bengal Tiger, he published a photo. So Bryce Underwood, the #1 quarterback recruit in the country, who is an LSU commit, he was at the game. And I had some people tell me after the game, wow, I bet Bryce Underwood's not going there now after he saw that. Now, you all know how recruiting works. The way recruiting works is after you lose a game like that, you go, if we had you, we wouldn't have lost. I saw how many family members Bryce Underwood had at the game. They looked pretty happy there. They looked like they were enjoying themselves in the photo that Shea posted. I think there's a good chance they're probably okay there. And if they are, and that recruiting class sticks, then things can change. Wasn't it you and I standing there in the rain in Oxford after Ole Miss clobbered Georgia saying, look at how different things can be in a year. If you recruit right, if you take people out of the portal correctly, that could happen at LSU too. So let's not be overly negative. There is a potential silver lining here. But that said, I will repeat my warning. Do not go to Gainesville and lose. It will get very ugly if you do.